afternoon, everybody. As Leo said, Éibhear is my name. I'm principal of Untitled, a primary school with over 600 pupils here in Limerick City. Like everybody, we're doing our best with distance learning at the moment. We're not perfect, and it's a tough time for everybody. But I suppose I'm here this afternoon to share my story, or our story, as to how Zoom has become a key part of how we operate as a school, and how it's an integral part, I suppose, of teaching and learning since March last year as well. During the first lockdown last year, we were one of the early adopters, as Leo says, of Zoom. So we used Zoom during lockdown in March last year for our staff meetings. We used it for live engagement and live lessons to catch up with kids, and especially with the infant classes. Our SET teachers use Zoom as well for supporting SEN students. We use recorded lessons as a feature of Zoom as well. We use Zoom basically as a collaboration tool as well. So all our class teachers had their class group meetings on Zoom, and we used it for CPD as well. Continuing on into term one then last year, we used Zoom from September to December. We used Zoom for our school assemblies online during school time. Obviously, we couldn't mix any of the bubbles in the school, so different classes performed kind of every few weeks for us on Zoom, and provided a bit of entertainment, I suppose, delivered to all the classes in the school as part of the school day. We found it a lovely tool to connect, I suppose, the whole school together when we couldn't connect physically. We even conducted one of our teachers' retirement parties on Zoom, and different classes that she had taught performed for her on Zoom as well. We used it during term one as well for our parent-teacher meetings in November. They worked really well for us on Zoom. Even this week, there's a few of our classes conducting their parent-teacher meetings this week as well, this afternoon and yesterday afternoon on Zoom. So teachers are running parent-teacher meetings from the comfort of their home living room. And dare I say it, it's a real opportune time as well, when the parents are key educators at the moment. The teachers are finding the parents very receptive to those meetings this week. We used it for parent webinars last year as well. During term one, we had a back to school webinar in August to explain to teachers or to parents the whole, I suppose, new routines around the school. We got over 80% of our families attended that webinar, and it was a phenomenal success because it eased everybody's anxieties and concerns before coming back to school, and eliminated so many phone calls and so many emails and questions. So we're going to run one again in 2 or 3 weeks' time before we get back to school, hopefully in March. We used it for lots of parent meetings as well. From time to time, we'd invite 6th class parents or infant parents into the school hall for meetings. You'd usually get 60 or 70% attendance. We got over 80% attendance at these meetings on Zoom last term. So we're going to be sticking with that going forward because of the attendance numbers we got. We had various committee meetings, parents association meetings on Zoom. All our staff meetings in term one happened on Zoom. We also worked with kids who were vulnerable, who weren't attending school. We had teachers working with them remotely, and we continue to use it for CPD as well. I suppose over the last 11 months, our uses for Zoom, if you like, or our use case for Zoom has evolved. And I suppose going forward for us as a school, regardless of what happens over the next couple of weeks, Zoom is going to be a key part of the communication tools that we are going to work with going forward, integrated with our G Suite as well. We're a Google school. We use G Suite and we use it very effectively, and we're using Google Classroom as well. But Zoom is a fantastic way added to G Suite to use it as a communication tool to collaborate, and for me as well as principal to bring staff with me on the journey, because I can check in weekly with my staff and I can collaborate with them very easily on Zoom as well. We're probably on another level, to be honest, as a school now with Zoom, because we have class teaching going on in Zoom. We have our SET teachers taking their SEN pupils. They've got full timetables on Zoom now, supporting SEN pupils in one-on-one support. And we're also using breakout rooms where class teachers will send certain kids with the SET teacher as part of the hourly class or whatever each day. We're using the webinars as well, very powerful tool. Webinars have solved a huge number of problems for us as a school on Zoom in terms of using it as a communication tool. Even at the moment, we're going to use the webinar feature for school assemblies during these couple of weeks of lockdown. 6 or 8 teachers are going to jump on a school webinar with us, and we're going to deliver a few different lessons and stories to kids, almost like a weekly assembly, but being done remotely. And it's almost like delivering our own school TV channel into the kids' living rooms, which is great. And I suppose parent-teacher meetings as well going forward. We found even with the parent-teacher meetings in November, for the first time ever, we had parents attending parent-teacher meetings, because with Zoom, both parents were able to attend the meeting, whereas if the meetings were held in school, usually only one parent would turn up. So we found that fantastic as well. I suppose from what we've learned using Zoom as a school, I suppose if I was to throw out a few suggestions, one of the things we have during this lockdown is we have a timetable on Zoom. So, you know, we all know those pressures on people in the homes where parents are working, and there's pressure on devices in homes as well. So we have a Zoom timetable for these couple of weeks. So, you know, basically the different classes are on Zoom at different times throughout the day, from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. Just ensuring that all classes aren't on at the same time, and it eases the pressure on devices and the Wi-Fi in the homes. We also make sure that we're going on Zoom for a purpose, and that we're not just passing time with the kids online, that there's an element of teaching and learning as part of it. You know, we're not babysitters, we're teachers. And one parent said to me in a phone call yesterday, she kind of let it slip and said to me, you know, well, sure, it would be great to have more Zooms with the kids, because, you know, the teachers could mind the kids for us. I'm not sure, there's probably a market there for that, Leo, if you're interested in a new business. I haven't time to set it up myself, but I'm sure Zoom babysitters, if anyone wanted to set it up as a business, you'd probably do well in terms of entertaining kids on Zoom and charging a fee for it. But yeah, like I say, for us on Zoom, it's making sure we as a school are using Zoom with a purpose, and that it's added on to what we're doing already on Google Classroom, and for the younger kids as well, what their teachers, what they're doing in the younger classes on Seesaw. So like I say, add it to G Suite or Microsoft or whatever you use in your school. Zoom is a fantastic way to communicate and collaborate with your staff. Zoom will not replace existing platforms you're using, but it certainly will complement, and does complement, what we're using on G Suite. The last few things I'd say is use the registration links and use the security. Like Leo mentioned there, it's important to have a school policy and make sure your administration settings are set so that you can have the security of passwords and waiting rooms locked into your settings, so that no teachers can create meetings without passwords and without the waiting rooms being enabled as part of the admin settings. Like I said, the webinars for parents, a huge success, a great way to communicate with parents, and eliminates the need to be calling parents into the school for meetings. We ran a survey with our parents on Google Forms after the parent-teacher meetings, and over 60% of parents said they'd rather keep the parent-teacher meetings on Zoom going forward. The one last thing I would say is get the balance right as well. Google Classroom and Zoom, you know, there's no one platform, I suppose, that's a perfect technology for schools, but it's about using the best platforms and using the right mix of technologies. Zoom is certainly part of our choice of platforms in the future, because it's the best of what's on offer when it comes to the functionality of meetings and webinars on Zoom, and because of its ease of use. And it's a superb communication tool for a school going forward. But like I say, it's part of the other platforms that you will continue to use as a school as well. We're certainly on the Zoom bus, and it's made our life so much easier because of its ease of use. It's one of the best decisions that we've made as a school in the last 12 months. And we can see it as a vital part of how we're going to operate and communicate as a school going forward. So that's it from me, Leo. Garmadagat.